Alright, so we've added some water into the base of the saw and we're ready to make some cuts. Really, water is the biggest complaint that I have with this saw. I expected some water, but I sure didn't expect this much water. Without a couple of redneck repairs, there's no way that you're going to use this on an inside project unless you got a lot of towels and you're ready to chase a lot of water. I'm joined by my trusted assistant, primary advisor, and cleanup crew. She's going to help us with this a little bit. So as you turn on the saw, you're going to see just how much water this thing really throws. All water is normal to a certain extent. That's why I got this piece of sheetrock there. That's normal water spray. But what you really don't expect to see as much is this much water building up on this front lip and dripping off the back side. You can see it coming off that guard. The guard just doesn't do too much. Then you can see the floor is dry right now, but as I push the tray forward, the water really builds up on the tray. You'd think there'd be some drain holes or something, and I thought about drilling some, but then decided not to because I wanted to see how the saw functioned first. As you move the tray forward, the water really runs off and hits the floor. You can see that's how much water there is after one pass, and with each consecutive pass, you're just going to push more and more water right off onto your floor. That got to be a bit of a nuisance, and there really was even a lot of extra spray coming off the backside. So if you want to use the saw indoors, you're going to need some of these redneck repairs that I've come up with. And that was only with 3 quick passes. So after about 10 or 15 passes with the saw, you got a lot of water laying on the floor. And it's all the way back to the center base of the saw. And there's my wife's lovely feet and her fabulous slippers. And it's just all kind of downhill from there. The first idea that I came up with to help contain the water was I designed a custom water catchment device to pick up the water as it came off the back of the tray. You can see the water really builds up right here, and just touching it you can see how much water is falling off and that it builds up in a huge hurry. So I designed this custom water catchment device. My wife says it looks a lot like a paint pan, and I don't know, you'll have to decide. But that way the water, as it comes off the back of the saw, drops right down in that paint pan, and it catches about 80% of the water, especially as the tray moves through and the water runs off the tray. That's when the real big issue occurs. And if you just kind of line it up with those grooves, the water will come right off these grooves and fall right in that pan, and it works great. The bigger issue is as the saw comes through, you get a lot of spray coming off of the guard heading straight back, and when the saw is not running, you get that constant drip and run. So I came up with a super high speed guard. I came up with this piece of plastic. I chose this material for 2 reasons. One is it's highly durable yet highly flexible piece of plastic, very excellently suited to the needs that I had. That was the second reason. The first reason is because when I was trying to figure out what I could put there, I looked in the trash and I found a milk jug. All I did was took the milk jug and cut that piece out. Cut that piece out right there. Keep as much height as you can. You're going to want that. I'll explain that in just a second. But it seemed to work real good. So what I did, I took my high quality piece of milk jug plastic and I shoved it right down here in the crease between the saw base and the table. Keep the curve pointing in toward the saw and try to keep as much height as you can so that you're above this guard. I'll turn the saw on in a second and you'll see the water spray coming off. It hits that guard and it runs right back in the tray. Then the second thing you got to combat is as you move your work through and make your cut, keeping that cut forward like that. You can see it passes over it and then it pulls and comes right back into place. And I made about 100 cuts in a row with that piece on there and it worked just fine. So I flipped the saw on. Right away that it catches the water, makes the water run right back in. As you move your saw through, water flows into the pan. You see the water go up and down into the pan as you make the cut, and then you pull back, hits the guard, and just like that. 90% of your water is now going back into your pan instead all over the floor. Do those 2 things. You could use this indoors all day long, throw a tarp on the floor, and you are going to be good to go. Just wanted to show you a quick cut. Again, now you can see the laser coming on and off, water on. So from a cut perspective, you can see the cut is clean, the cut is awesome, the piece is square because I used the brace, and the saw went through that brick like melted butter. And this is this blade that came with the saw, and that's after probably made at least 300 cuts already. This is the method that I came up with for cutting around outlets. As I push my work in, you can see the laser. I'm going to adjust that to where the laser strike is actually in the center of the blade. That's about as far to my right as that laser line will go. You got the brick marked out. You want to just cut. This is the surface that you want to protect. So I'm going to cut. Initially, the depth of my cut's only going to go to that mark. So that's all well and good on the front side, but if you flip it over on the back, you can see that I have a long ways yet to cut. So, loosen my saw, have my line marked for the depth of how I want to go, get everything lined up. I made my first plunge cut. Get the work lined up on the blade. It is, after all, just an outlet cover. If I need to, I can knock that piece off, but I won't need to. The second cut, and look at the handy tray to store your work. The second cut is a little trickier. I decided that my edges were most important at the start, and I was just going to let the brick fall where the brick fell. So we'll do a quick plunge cut here and show you how I came up with it. I did get a Dremel. I tried the Dremel tool that's used for cutting tile. I tried a rope saw. For this brick, it's just not even worth it. You could cut about 1/4 of an inch of brick every half hour with that Dremel tool saw. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be hidden by an outlet cover. Just make plunge cuts about the width of the blade all the way across, and you can slide the brick back and forth to kind of trim up and neaten up the edges when you're done. Pretty simple process. There you go. That is now notched out for an electrical outlet. Is that the best way? No. Could I have done better? Yeah. Is it going to work? Absolutely. Are you going to see any of this? No, that's a flaw in the brick, by the way. That's there on purpose. Kind of wish it wasn't now, though. But at any rate, it works. It works good, and that's how I chose to do it. Is there better ways? I'm sure. Is there more efficient ways? Probably, but that worked for me. So hopefully when you're done, it'll fit about like that right there. Is it perfect? No. Does it need to be? No, but it's notched out and it's in there. And when you put the plate in, when all is said and done, it'll look about like that. Notch brick. I used that chalk line that I snapped earlier kind of as a general reference. Obviously chalk on a hunk of brick is not going to be much of a measurement, and you can see how much, even on this last brick, it blurred. But I measured the first one of what I wanted, to use a C-clamp, set up a little chuck, tucked the brick in nicely, ran it up, I had my laser line to make sure it was going to hit in the neighborhood of where I wanted it to be, and made my cut. When everything came out, this is the last cut. Here's the bricks that I have cut, and you can see they came out pretty darn good. I'll take it. It's sure good enough for who it's for. Well, that's what I wanted to show you. I reckon if I see this guard on a Kobalt saw in the future, I suppose they owe me some money. But that is one fabulous repair. The saw is ready. All there is to do now is throw some brick on the saw and lean into it.
Okay, babe, finished my backsplash already.
All right, that's my cue. Hope this helped. Cheers, y'all. Out.